It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're listening, whenever you're watching, I hope you're doing all right. I want to give a special shout out today for our two, or at least the two of our newest affiliates in Brunswick, Georgia. I want to thank all of the people on WGIG for tuning in today, as well as my man George and the rest of the crew at WSM. Is it going to be one of those days again today? I don't know. WSMN 1590 in Nashua, New Hampshire. Glad to be part of your programming, your sports programming today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located on beautiful St. Simons Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simons for an authentic Italian meal. And speaking about St. Simons, I know it seems like a long way off, but make your plans now. We are going to have the biggest and bestest Billy C gathering that we've had to date. In 15 years, it's going to be the biggest, best one, September 13th, 14th, and 15th at the Sea Palms Resort on St. Simons Island. Great time. We're going to have a meet and greet. We're going to have some former world champions there and some celebrities. We'll have a fight night. We have a golf tournament planned, a fishing tournament planned. What a great time. Make the plans now. We have a full package available except for lodging, because there's plenty of options on St. Simons Island or in Brunswick or on the other two of the Golden Isles, Sea Island and Jekyll Island. So make your plans now. You do need a ticket. So drop me an email if you want to get put on the list, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. And listen, if you're going to stay at a Holiday Inn property, make sure you take advantage of the Billy C discount. Just call a toll-free number, 844-603-0364, 844-603-0364, or just go to our website and click on the Holiday Inn banner, which you can't miss. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage, The Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. You can get a copy of this book right now. When you're watching or listening to the show, just go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. You want a signed copy, just go to the website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book. It's that simple, man. Coming up later, we got this week's Blast from the Past. Alex Papali will join us and tell us all about former multi-division world champion, and I think he should be in the Hall of Fame, Michael Nunn. We'll be talking about that. Speaking of Hall of Fame, Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazzard will be joining us. I'll get his thoughts on some of the fights from last week. And, of course, the big fight scheduled for this week, the heavyweight unification fight between Anthony Joshua and Joseph Parker. And speaking of Anthony Joshua and Joseph Parker, we're going to kick off the show right now with some of their latest quotes. Man, my English is not good today. The latest quotes from both Anthony Joshua and Joseph Parker. And then some, because I got an interesting email that I'm going to incorporate right off the bat here before we get to the rest of them, because it also has some quotes from Eddie Hearn. But Foist, joining me right now from St. Simon's Island, my partner in crime, Sal Rocky Senicolo. Good morning, Sal.
Good morning, Billy C. And how are you today?
Oh, not too bad. Hey, we got to give a shout out to Dublin, Ireland. My man John is watching from Dublin, Ireland. Talk about my man John from Dublin, Ireland. Talk about getting a world audience, huh?
Hey, that is fantastic. Hey, ask John to drop you an email. You know, my first international bout with the United States boxing team was against a great international or a national three-time European champion was Sean Doyle, and with the Irish national team. And that was my first international amateur bout, and I beat Sean. And I wonder how Sean Doyle is today. He was a great fighter.
Well, like it's not like Doyle is a common name or anything in Ireland,
hey,
Sal. You know, it's like Smith here in the U.S. But
Sean Doyle,
anyway,
what a great guy. We swapped jerseys.
We got some final quotes. Anthony Joshua going up against Joseph Parker this weekend for a heavyweight unification title. The WBA, the IBF, the IBO, and the WBO world titles will all be on the line when Anthony Joshua, who's currently 20 wins and no losses, all coming by knockout, steps in the ring in arguably his toughest fight yet, Joseph Parker. I mean, I kind of think Klitschko was tougher, but a lot of people are giving Parker a better than good chance of upsetting Anthony Joshua. And Joseph Parker's no slouch himself, 24-0 with 18 knockouts. I got some quotes, and we'll start off with we'll start off with Joseph Parker first. Joseph Parker said, "I feel ready. I'm confident and I'm sharp. I feel better than ever, and I'm taking these belts back to New Zealand. I see Joshua as a great champion. The reason why we wanted this fight is because we respect what he's achieved in the boxing world. We respect his team and what they've been able to achieve on this side of the world, and we love challenges. We see him as a big challenge, and that's the reason we want to fight him. I feel it's my time. I'm young, I'm fast, I'm strong, and I'm determined to win. I'm not here for the payday. I'm here to take the belts back home with me. I'm here to be part of history. I'm not doing it just for myself. I'm doing it for my team, my family, and my country. He's at his best. I'm at my best. This is the perfect time for a fight. There are going to be no excuses. Whoever wins is the best on that day. I'm going to beat Anthony Joshua. I haven't decided how yet, and how I want to beat him. I don't know if it's going to be a knockout or if it's going to be a points decision. We'll see how I feel on fight night. But I'm going to go. I'm going home undefeated with all the belts. These are mine. I'm in the best shape I've ever been. Whoever wins is the better man. There's no excuses. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling strong, and I'm going to leave it all in the ring. I'm punching hard. I'm punching with way more speed. So I'm looking to put that all on display come Saturday night. This is the perfect time because he's undefeated. He's got the belts that I want. We're both at the top of our game, and now it's a good time to see who's the best. I'm confident I'm going to win. I'm taking those belts home." What's your thoughts on those comments? A lot of wheeze in that. A lot of
wheeze. That's what I'm saying. When we step in that ring, I'll tell you, I know somebody that doesn't like those comments. It's like Michael Corleone with Fredo. "Hey, Fredo, you're giving me all the right answers, but none of the ones I want to hear." And Deontay Wilder is probably going to be the biggest fan rooting for Anthony Joshua Saturday night, besides the Joshua family. But I'll tell you what, those are some strong words, and those are words of confidence. And you can't expect anything less from another champion. And I think it's going to be a poignant statement, and we'll see what he could do in the ring. Because I'll tell you, this is going to be a good fight. It's going to be a better fight than what most anticipate. And I think that we are in for a good night of fights.
Well, what I read between the lines is that I don't think he's trying to convince himself. I think this kid is confident. I think that he's put the work in the gym. I think he's proud of himself. I think he's proud of the effort that he has put into preparing himself. And I truly believe that this kid feels that he is going to give it his all on Saturday night and that there won't be any excuses if he loses. He said several things that stick out to me, and one of them is the best will win on that night. So, I don't know if that's setting up a, hey, I tried my best and I'll be back, to try again. Or if he's just laying the groundwork to say, listen, there's no excuses. I don't have any built-in excuse. I didn't stub my toe. I didn't hurt my toe. I haven't been sick. I'm going to be the best I can be come Saturday night. And if he beats me, he's going to be better than me. To me, it was a respectful, some respectful quotes. I think he knows what's in front of him, and I think we're going to see the best Joseph Parker possible against Anthony Joshua on Saturday night, and that's what I gather out of his comments, Sal.
I believe you're right. I like his statements. I think they were very strong, very good, and very confident. I don't think it was nothing false behind it. I think it was very good. So I applaud his feedback right there.
Now, as far as Anthony Joshua said, and I quote, I feel like this is what we got to do. If champions don't face off, then we won't bring excitement to the sport of boxing. And I feel like we, heavyweights, are the flag bearers for the sport. I'm peaking, but what I need to do is remain where I am. If you want to see my peak, then I need to face stern challenges. The better opponent, the better I get. We embrace the challenge of facing an undefeated champion. He's a champion. He's done well for himself. He's quick, and he can take a punch. I have to mentally say the fight will go 12 rounds in my head, but if I had to pick, I'd say 9. I will win by knockout 100%. For a long time, I've had to rely on my strength and my physicality. Over the last 10 years I've been boxing, I've built a lot of mental strength as well, and now I'm combining the two. I feel confident, and I'm looking forward to this challenge. I take it 1,000%, one fight at a time. A lot of talk has been happening about myself and Deontay Wilder. People need to be realistic. I'm looking at Joseph Parker, who is a live challenger. He's a champion for a reason. Let's say we look into a crystal ball and I'm victorious. Then we can start talking about future plans. But for now, my plans are Saturday. That's where I got to look at, and I'm not looking beyond that moment. There's definitely a fear of losing because it keeps me going. I have to make sure I stay focused on the task at hand. The fear of losing keeps me motivated because I know how quickly the tables can turn. 1 minute you're the man, the next minute you're not. I'm definitely preparing for a 12-round fight, 110%. It isn't a problem to go the distance. But let's say I got 20 quid in my pocket. There's that quid again.
There's that quid, huh?
Don't they wiggle and stuff? I mean, that's squid. I'm sorry.
Hey,
but let's say I got 20 quid in my pocket and I'm looking at Joseph Parker against Anthony Joshua. I believe Anthony Joshua will knock Joseph Parker out myself. I'll start with you. What's your thoughts on AJ's comments, Sal?
Well, Anthony Joshua, he, like I said, I'm very flattered. I'm very impressed with the words and the dialogue and what he likes to reveal about his emotions and thoughts, and he does it so eloquently. And I'll tell you, he's a gentleman by far, cut above what we're used to seeing in the fight game, and he just says what he's going to do, and he doesn't tout or boast or anything else. He's humble, and I think he's the real deal, and that's why he's where he is today. He's a good gentleman, and he works hard, trains hard, and there's no excuses there. He's going to let it all out, and hopefully it'll be enough for him to come out the winner.
You know, every time I see him speak or read a quote or watch a clip, I see a guy, and you hit it on the head. I see a very humble man, a grounded guy, and a guy that has not fallen prey, at least yet, to all of the press clippings. You know how I'm always saying, well, this guy believes in his press clippings. He's listening to this. He's listening to those ears telling him he's so great. But the truth of the matter is what I see with Anthony Joshua, and it's probably one of the main reasons why I like this kid, is that he has admitted that he wants to get better and better after each fight. And I see a very obvious progression with him. And I think that the main challenge to him is to get better each fight. And I think I think, and it's my opinion, that it has to be one of the driving forces behind him. The other thing that I see is he's a respectful guy. And, I think that goes a longer way than yelling and screaming sometimes. And I believe he respects Joseph Parker. I honestly believe that even though the other day I thought that maybe he was looking ahead, but I honestly believe that he's got this fight in perspective and he knows it's one step at a time, and he's got to get this guy. One of the biggest impressionable things that I got from these quotes is that he said the fear of losing is what drives me. And it made me think, because every time, obviously anytime that I ever got into a fight, whether it was an organized one or not, I got nervous. I knew when there was going to be a fight, because you'd start shaking. At least I did. I'd be very nervous about the fight, and that's what drove me. The fear of somebody else getting the better of me is what drove me, from an amateur point. And I could just imagine, or I can't really imagine the level he's at, but that fear factor is still a driving force, Sal. I mean, you got to be able to relate to that, yeah?
100%. And I'll tell you what, when you're undefeated, as I was through 18 wins, 18 fights in a row, you look at that zero, and you feel you're the best. You train, you do diligence, and like I said, you go above and beyond with your training, because you don't want to give that up as easily as you think. And it's a driver for a motivator for that. Hey, but on one level, I will tell you this: after my first defeat, it was like okay, it's all over. All safety nets are. I don't care anymore, because I'm going to go out there and be a whirlwind and fight and do anything. I mean, it was almost like an empowerment as well. As negative as it was to think about the first defeat, it was also, how can I say? It was also not. I didn't really care for it, because I also felt I won the fight. It was a decision, but. Against Brian Payton, who gave my first defeat. But I felt empowered enough to say, okay, all bets are off now. I got rid of the O, and I'm just going to be relentless. Well, I always was relentless, but like I said, it's a different feeling. But you wanted to protect the O, and you wanted to fight, and just always, you just go in the ring prepared and making sure you go above and beyond, ready to face whoever you can.
Yeah, it's a huge driving force.
Oh, it is,
and there's no question about that. And it's just, to me, it was a breath of fresh air to see a guy like Anthony Joshua, basically, admit the same thing. I mean, he's up on a pedestal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Anthony Joshua, He makes it, where he may be the heavyweight champion of the world, undefeated, bigger than life kind of guy. He humanizes it and brings it down to a level that a lot of people could empathize or identify with. So that's why he's a popular guy.
Can't wait for the fight. I got an email yesterday. Now, I have some other emails I'm going to read, but this one kind of ties into our first segments here on the show, because, of course, I have Anthony Joshua's latest diary excerpt that my man Johnston has been supplying us with, and after the show he always posts them up on BillyCBoxing.com. So if you want to get an inside look at Anthony Joshua's fight diary, you can check it out up on BillyCBoxing.com. But I got an email from my man Paul, and the email reads as follows. He says, "Hey Billy C, my name is Paul and I'm from the UK. I catch every episode of your show on YouTube and would like to say it's the best boxing show out there. You provide a non-biased opinion on the boxing scene, and it's a refreshing change from listening to the biased opinions just because of which part of the world you come from. I know you're a big Anthony Joshua fan, and I've just watched an interview with Eddie Hearn, and I thought I'd pass it on to you in case you haven't seen it. He says... he was telling me, I'm not going to mention anything here, but he says it's a video with Hearn that mocks Wilder about not coming to the fight on Saturday and missing out on the massive amounts of publicity that would bring him. I'm just wondering what your view on this stance is. If he doesn't turn up at the fight when it's a free trip and paid for, etc., as he was supposed to be working the fight on fight night. Keep up the fantastic work. I did watch the video, and this is why I'm incorporating this in this part of the show. And Paul, thank you very much. I love our UK fan base.
Oh, yeah.
We have a very large portion of our fan base is in the UK, and I know I always say this, but I mean it wholeheartedly. I wish someday, before we pack it in here on this show, that we get to broadcast several shows, a week long. I would love to do a week of our shows live from England. I think it would be cool. I would love to witness the support from the UK fans. I know they would come out and turn out for our shows just to be part of the audience, and I would love it. So if you're listening in the UK, you got some connections, hook us up, man. Because every time I reach out to guys like Eddie Hearn, they don't even call me back, But anyway, as far as this interview, Eddie Hearn said that it was reported to him that Deontay Wilder has decided not to go to Cardiff, Wales to be ringside, and he was also being paid to be part of the broadcast team for Sky Sports. And it's alleged, now we don't know this because Eddie Hearn said that was the latest update, that Deontay Wilder has decided not to go. And Eddie Hearn's point was he's an idiot not to go. That the whole world of boxing will have their eyes on this fight. That this is an opportunity for Deontay Wilder to get the publicity that he has to try to seek by yelling and screaming and pounding on his chest that none of his promoters or management has been, smart enough to give him here in the States. Here they are going to pay him to go there, and it would automatically get him the publicity he wants. Not only will Anthony Joshua be fighting and inside the ring, but Dillian White is there too, his new mandatory title challenger. So, it would have been a great opportunity for Deontay Wilder. Now, whether Deontay Wilder is just saying he's not going to try to get some more press, I don't know. But I'll tell you what, Sal, I agree with Eddie Hearn that this would be a very stupid decision on Deontay Wilder's part. And Eddie Hearn bluntly said that this kid is being advised incorrectly. If somebody is telling him not to go, they are, I've said this on this show in the past, recently too, that I feel that the team that surrounds Deontay Wilder is robbing him. They're making him do the wrong things. They're preventing him from making the money that he could. I think that the smartest thing that Deontay Wilder could do is sign with Eddie Hearn, to be honest with you. What's your thoughts on the possibility that Wilder doesn't show up for the AJ Parker fight, Sal?
Did you read this in quotes? Is this on the public airways? Or is this just an inside story of what the
I just told you I just read an interview. I just watched an interview that has been published from Eddie Hearn, who's the promoter. So yeah,
right. But no one
public.
has it where Deontay Wilder has spoken or said these words. I'm asking that we can see on the internet or anywhere.
Well, that's true. If you see it on the internet, it's got to be true, right?
Well, sure. Hey, why not? You know what? I would be very, very surprised. And yes, I would have to say Deontay Wilder, if this is the true case and he doesn't intend on going, and if he said those words, he's either looking to magnify the publicity and everything else. But if he's sincere and he's not going to show up for this world title fight, yes, I did say it is also a world title fight, then he is being definitely very ill advised, because this is where he should be, and he should be behind the microphone, and he should be commentating on what he sees before him, because any one of these two fighters up there could be his next opponent, and he could beat all the Dillian Whites and all the Ortiz and everybody else in front of him, but these two guys who are undefeated, fighting for their belts, we want to see Deontay Wilder fight these guys.
Sal, hold that thought, my man. Yeah. We got to take a short break. But before I go on the break, I want to give a shout-out to my man Scholar. Yesterday, he gave us a super chat, and it was at the end of the show, and I didn't realize it. So I want to give him a shout-out, and I'm even going to give him a quote. He says, if nobody didn't want him there, why are they begging him to go? Interesting point. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I got some more on all of this. Don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interactive Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching to the Billy C Show. Glad you could be with us. Just before we went to break, we were talking about the fact that Deontay Wilder is allegedly not going, according to Eddie Hearn and some other people. It's amazing to me what the fans say, Sal. You know, the Wilder supporters are saying, it's not true. Did Wilder say it? You know, like you actually said the same thing. You know. And, and then the other people are saying, oh, he can't, this and that. And one of the things that Eddie Hearn said that may have been a driving force is that Deontay Wilder wanted to get up into the ring, to pull his WWF or WWE moves where he yells and calls everybody out. And you know this routine that the fraud does. But the truth of the matter is that over there, you're not permitted in the ring unless you're called up by one of the combatants. So maybe that was a driving force. I don't know. But somebody else made an interesting point in the YouTube chat that maybe it's because of his record. You can't get into Canada with a record. You can't get into the U.S. with a record. Maybe England's the same. And Deontay Wilder does have a criminal record, Sal.
Well, I didn't know any of these things, and I'm not sure, but I do hope we do see Deontay Wilder ringside for this fight. I think it's a necessity. I really do, and it should be. Like I said, I didn't hear it straight from his mouth or anything else in the news wave. So until I do, I'm going to think it's just a little bit of a smokescreen, and hopefully we will all see him ringside for the fight Saturday night.
What's he going to bring? I mean, truthfully, who cares if he's ringside? I mean, I don't care if Deontay Wilder's ringside for the fight. He doesn't bring anything to the fight. He's obviously not a well-spoken guy, so he's not going to bring anything to the broadcast. What he brings is circus appeal. He brings the WWE appeal. He's there to call out Anthony Joshua or to hear. He doesn't bring anything. I think it's funny that he's deciding not to go. I agree with Eddie Hearn about the publicity standpoint. Deontay Wilder is in a position to benefit from being there. Not AJ and not boxing. There's no, and certainly not the broadcast, not with the way he speaks. The truth of the matter is that it would be beneficial to Deontay Wilder to be there. And that's where I agree with Eddie Hearn 100%. That the people that are advising Deontay Wilder are not advising him in his best interest. This is free publicity, Sal. I would chomp at the bit to get that handed to me, don't you think?
Well, of course I do, and that's why I can't believe that this is something that is coming from Deontay Wilder's lips himself. And I think we're going to. I would believe that we are going to see him ringside. And you know what? I'd like to hear his opinion on what he thinks during the fight, the course of the fight, about the style of Anthony Joshua and what he would see as a flaw or something. And the same thing with Joseph Parker. I'd like to hear his opinion because these are two viable opponents that he may be facing in the near future. Although in a fight game, it's never the near future. But I think that it's an oxymoron. But I think that the presence of Deontay Wilder is going to be a big thing, and he's got to be there. And I want to hear his comments. I want to hear some of his things, and it's not necessarily having to be a WWE versus just, hey, this is good, this is a style. Hey, I like the way he does this, but here's what I would see him going doing that. So I'd like to hear that from him.
You and I look at Deontay Wilder as two totally. You have this. First of all, I'm not even going to comment because it's so ridiculous. It's such a ridiculous statement to hear. If he ever said anything that resembled technical criticisms on any fighter, even himself. I've never even heard him criticize himself. I hear other fighters that say, I reviewed the film and I know I gotta improve on this. Deontay Wilder acts like he's the perfect guy. This is a guy that has no technical skill. He's got a power punch. That's it. I don't know. I think he's a little nervous that that maybe he won't do a good job. He doesn't have to speak well or anything like that. They're bringing him there for the presence. They are bringing him there for the WWE feel. There's no other reason. This isn't a well-spoken guy. This isn't a technically sound retired boxer that can give an analysis on a fight. He just isn't. They're bringing him for that circus act appeal, and he doesn't want to do it. Now, if he was saying, I don't want to do it because I don't want to be looked at as a circus attraction, well, then I would respect him for that. But like you said, he hasn't said anything. I haven't heard him say anything.
I haven't heard him say anything.
But the truth of the matter is that he is a guy that would be in a position to get some free publicity. And I think that that's critical for Deontay Wilder right now. And for him to pass that up is a huge mistake, in my opinion.
Well, yes, but like I said, I haven't heard it directly from his mouth, so I don't believe just somebody making it up. But I could see it as being just thrown out there as a smoke screen or so, and just to get the appeal and just to see. But I think Deontay Wilder also could use this moment out there to either do a facade, a commentary or so to throw him off track, to see the words. Like, instead of him saying, well, I saw Joshua drop his left after the jab, I'm going to come over with an overhand right and whack him, just knock him out. He could say, well, he throws a good jab. He could look at it for both angles, and he doesn't have to reveal everything he's going to do. He could reveal just certain things that are happening in front of him. So, like I said, I think it's a great opportunity, and I would be very, very surprised if he's not going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I think from the promotional aspect, listen, Deontay Wilder, I give him credit for being loyal to all the thieves that are in his pockets right now. But the truth is that a guy like Deontay Wilder, forget about how you feel about him. I personally feel he's had, of 40 fights, 2 real opponents. But that's my opinion. But regardless of how anybody else feels, the truth of the matter is, I think most people would agree that he just has not been promoted correctly. And this is an opportunity. He's kind of taken on self-promotion. The yelling, the screaming, the pounding on the chest, that's all him. He had to do something to get his name out there. Now, be as it may, any press is good press. He gets a lot of negative publicity because of the manner in which he yells and screams and says he's the best, saying that AJ's ducking him. Have found out many times that that's not the case. There's if Anthony Joshua was ducking him, then why doesn't Deontay Wilder's people make an offer to AJ to fight Deontay in the States? It's the other way around. Deontay Wilder is refusing offers from AJ's promoter. So if I'm Deontay Wilder, I want this free press. I would take this trip, and whether I said anything about what I would do or anything like that, I would go there and sit ringside and let people see me, and meet the fans and let people judge for themselves. Maybe show them the other side of Deontay Wilder, maybe the real Deontay Wilder, gain some fan base. Because the bottom line is the more fans that Deontay has, the more value he has in himself. Right now, that's the negative force for him, Sal. People say, well, you don't have a big fan base. You don't even have a big fan base in the States. How can you come over to England? If he goes there, he's creating that. It makes no business sense for him not to go.
Well, I think you hit it on the head. So I don't know. This is a rumor. This is something thrown out there to stir some interest. Look at it. We're talking a whole show about Deontay Wilder not being there. So that's free press right there. Bottom line is, I haven't heard it from his mouth or anything on the networks that have said that. And I believe in my heart of hearts that he knows the opportunity this is for him to be there. And I think we're going to see him there ringside. And I think it's going to be bigger than life that he should be there. And he's going to be the ambassador for who he's representing in himself and the United States and with the title. And I believe he's going to go shake hands. And I believe he's going to have a real good feedback. Because let's say he's bigger than life in person. So you know what? I believe he's going to gain some fans by going over there.
We'll see, Sal. We'll see. I mean,
in fact, I'm going to start promoting Deontay Wilder.
Yeah.
How's that?
Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're scheduled to have Larry Hazzard join us. Then we'll do our blast from the past, and we'll be back to Sal. Don't go anywhere. A lot of show left.
Billy C will be right back.
Relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the #1 show in the country, talking boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And joining us right now is Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner, the man himself, Larry Hazzard. Good morning, Larry.
Good morning, Billy.
How you doing, my man?
Hey, good weather. Good weather, no storm.
No
storm
it's funny.
In the forecast.
It's funny. I still have snow on the ground, but there's little patches of grass I'm starting to see, and today was the first day like it was raining, and I haven't seen rain, and I'm noticing out the pieces of grass that are showing are getting green already. I'm like, oh man, I better get the lawnmower ready. That's going to be the next thing I got to start doing. But anyway, a couple of things. First, before I ask you about some current topics, I wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of things. First and foremost, Dillian White knocked out Lucas Brown in a fight this past weekend. What was your thoughts on the fight and Dillian White?
I didn't think much of the fight. It was quite obvious that Lucas Brown was over his head when he got in. I mean, it was just, there's only one fight that I'm really interested in the heavyweight division, and I'm sure you know what that fight is. But I thought that the fight was, for whatever it was worth, it was entertaining as long as it lasted. But I think the outcome was pretty much a foregone conclusion. And so, Dillian White made a statement that he should be taken seriously in the heavyweight division. And I guess maybe he should, among all of the heavyweights that are out there. But the only heavyweight fight of interest, right now for me is Wilder and Joshua. And, that's all I can say about that. And I'm just waiting for that to happen. And then we can start looking at some of the other contenders. But right now, that's the only heavyweight fight of interest. I think that White made a positive statement on his behalf. but I don't think that the competition was that great. He didn't prove very much as far as I'm, concerned. But it was what it was, and he won.
He's become the mandatory for Deontay Wilder. And I'm watching this fight, and of course, like you, first of all, we've talked about this before, but there's not another, providing Anthony Joshua gets by Joseph Parker this weekend, there's not another fight. There's no reason for these two guys to fight with somebody else, whatever. But, as is in this sport, you hear fighters say, well, I want to fight so-and-so, but my sanctioning body's forcing me to fight this guy. And if he has to fight Dillian Whyte, I look at Dillian Whyte, and I don't see him. Not that I think that Deontay Wilder is that great, because I really don't. Although I thought that he looked good, at least heart and determination and chin-wise against Ortiz, and I've gained a lot more respect for Deontay because of it. I don't think that Dillian Whyte gives him much trouble. However, the one thing that I kind of would want to see with Dillian Whyte, what he would bring to Deontay Wilder, which I have not seen yet, and I quite honestly, I don't understand why, Larry, but Dillian Whyte is a dedicated body attack fighter. He goes to the body religiously. He makes it part of his game. As a matter of fact, statistics, which, I don't like using the punch stats because they're subjective, but, for this case, I will just use them for discussion purposes only. Statistics show that he works the body more than any other heavyweight in the sport today. And with that said, should he get a chance to fight Deontay Wilder, I would like to see how Deontay holds up to a body attack. It's been my visual, anyway, that if I'm in an opponent's corner of Deontay Wilder, that's where I want to attack. I want my chest. I want my head in his chest. I want to work that skinny body. I know it's got muscles and stuff, but it's thin. I want to check. I want to test it. I want to not only work his body, but stay in close so Deontay can't extend his punches. That's where all his power is. I don't understand why all of his opponents go in there and they try to land that knockout punch because of the rumor of a suspect chin. Dillian Whyte may pose a different strategy, which would be good to see how Deontay handles it. What's your thoughts?
Well, I don't think that Dillian Whyte has the defensive skills that will allow him to get close enough. I don't think there's any question that Wilder has that great power in that right hand, and that's all he looks for now. He the jab that I once marveled at in the beginning has sort of been thrown into the tool shed, and he's looking to knock everybody out with the right hand. And perhaps that's all he needs right now, because he's been very successful with it. As far as Whyte is concerned, and his body punching, he's still a perfect target, I think, for Wilder with that right hand, because he fights from a straight-up posture. When he throws those body punches, he doesn't crouch. He throws them from a straight-up posture, and I fear that when he comes in for a body shot, he's going to get tagged with them right hands. And Wilder's the type of guy that he fights in a straight line. He doesn't have any footwork. He doesn't move that laterally that much. He's just straight in and straight out, and that's what makes that right hand, I think, so powerful. It gives it greater emphasis of power because it comes in a straight line, and it, with the leverage from his height, once it lands, that's it. And so I don't give Whyte much of a chance, even as a body puncher. Good body punchers. Joe Frazier was a great body puncher. And you see how effective Joe was, even though Ali beat him 2 out of 3. He was very effective with his body shots because Joe head and movement was always going. He was always on the move, bobbing and weaving side to side, and his chin wasn't always an open target. I think that is not the case with Dillian Whyte, especially for a guy like Deontay Wilder. I agree with you on this point. I think he has the highest percentage of most of those guys as a body puncher. I do agree that if he can find a way to get close enough to land some of those body shots, then he's going to put Wilder to the test as to whether he can take that punishment, because we have not seen anyone come close to punishing Deontay Wilder as of yet, and that's because they can't get past that powerful right hand. That's why he has that high knockout ratio. That right hand of his, he's made a believer out of me. I mean, you got to give credit where credit is due. I'm not so sure that Joshua could beat him now. Okay, I have to just see, Joshua, I have a lot of respect and admiration for his abilities, especially coming out of that Klitschko fight. But I am not so sure now that he could beat Wilder. That's what makes that fight, the prospects of that fight are so exciting, and that's who I want to see. But I don't think that Dillian Whyte presents much of a challenge for Wilder. And of course, that's who they're trying to get him to fight now. And you know how I feel about that. Let's bring on Wilder and Joshua. That's all I want to see.
I agree with you about Wilder's power right hand, but that's all he's got. And, so far it's all he's needed. But he also, I just can't help but look at the resume. And when we saw the Ortiz fight, we saw a guy that was able to land many, many shots on Deontay Wilder. But what Deontay did prove was that he has a better chin than we thought. And he still was able to, he didn't bail on his right hand because that's all he's got. But he definitely showed he's got no footwork. He does not utilize a jab, which he did show us that he had at one time. He's got the reach and height advantage over most of his opponents, but he's not fighting smart. And I think that if we've seen some fights with Wilder in the past where fighters do charge him, and he leans back. His body leans back quicker than his legs can respond. So I think a body attack guy would give him some trouble. I'm not so sure that Whyte could beat him. I said right off the bat, I don't think Whyte can beat Deontay. I think that Whyte's just he has no defense. He's not going to be able to hide from Deontay's right hand all night. The pressure would be on Dillian Whyte to try to take out Deontay Wilder quick. But moving along here, because there's so many other things I want to talk to you about, and I'm with you. I don't even want to see Deontay fight Dillian Whyte. I just want to see him fight AJ, and we're going to get to that in 1 second. But one quick thing I want to get your thoughts on. On Thursday night of last week, Ryan Garcia fought an experienced fighter in Fernando Vargas, and destroyed this guy in one round. What was your initial thoughts on Kingry Garcia? 19 years old, 14-0 now, 13 knockouts. What was your assessment of this kid?
I think he's got talent. Not much of a challenge, but I do see the kid has some skills, and if he keeps going, I think he's one of those great, good fighters to be reckoned with in the future. He still lacks some of the basics, but that comes with experience, and it just comes with being in good condition, and feeling that he can compete out there. And I like what I saw, and I think that this kid is one of the up and coming fighters that has to be contended with in the very near future by some of the top contenders.
I wanted to get your thoughts on the one thing I noticed, just closing the book on Garcia. He's got power in both hands. He's got a great jab. I love the fact that he's got all the young girls coming to his fights. I mean, that's what you need. You need those kinds of guys to bring, new fans that aren't boxing fans, that they're coming. And, I thought I was watching the Beatles, the way all these girls were screaming and hanging around this kid. But the one thing I did notice is that he stands up straight like a statue, almost European style. And it's like what we say all the time, Larry. When trainers and management and promoters overprotect their fighters, they're creating a problem, and I kind of see it in Ryan Garcia. Here's a kid that's got blazing hand speed, a lot of potential. He's 19, blah blah blah, and they're putting him in with opponents. Now, Fernando Vargas wasn't a bad guy. He's been in a lot of wars, so maybe it all caught up on him. A lot of mileage on him, but you got to put a kid in that would test him in other areas. Like, for example, I didn't see him move his head. I didn't see him bend his body. I saw him standing up straight. Now, if they continue to feed him cupcake after cupcake, he's never going to learn how to move his head. So when he finally gets to that level where he's fighting guys that are good, especially we know he's going to fill out and move up in weight, it's going to be a different ballgame. What's your thoughts? I mean, I know you're adamant about not enough teachers in boxing, but here's yet another example of how it hurts the sport.
Well, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, and I agree with you 100% about that. But you know what? That comes from you need a good matchmaker also. You talk about and you know how I'm a stickler on the teachers. Well, the teachers that is directly attributed to the fighter's skills and the mechanics. But now you have to look at the marketing and the growth and building the fighter and building those skills, testing those skills, and at the same time, keeping him out, keeping the dangers at a limit. Okay, and that's where a good matchmaker. That's where the promoter needs a good matchmaker, and certainly promoters have the fighters that they have a great deal of confidence in, the kids that they're trying to move to that championship level and develop. So that matchmaker now, his job, he has to get those opponents, the type of opponents that are going to test these skills. If the kid, every now and then you put him in with a southpaw. The southpaw doesn't have to have a lot of power, but someone who's going to test and press the kid and bring out some of these other skills that you're trying to, have him develop. That's where the matchmaker is important. And if you just constantly throw him in with fighters that he's just going to go in and bang right out of there, he's not learning anything. You got to put him in. He has to go in with a fighter that's going to take him the distance if he's in a 6-round fight, or you move him from a 4-round fight to a 6-round fight. The kid got a few knockouts. Okay, now you want to go find a fighter that's going to take him down the pike, make him work a little bit more, test him with his skills to the body. Somebody who's going to be, you have to elevate the level of competition. That's what I'm trying to say. You have to elevate the level of competition. And in my personal opinion, I see a few of these younger Olympian kids that, they're trying to move up the ladder. Okay, I personally don't agree with the way that they're moving some of those youngsters. At least two. That, it seemed to me that the level of competition is getting less as they move, as their careers progress. And I think that they got it backwards. It should be going the other way. But we'll see. But to answer your question directly, I do believe that it's harmful to some of these young fighters that they're trying to develop when you just put them in with easy wins. I don't think that you're doing any good to the fighter. I think you're harming his career.
Well, you're certainly not helping him get better. That's for sure.
That's right.
Larry, what exactly is your take on a temporary suspension?
A temporary? I don't know if I understand exactly what you mean.
Well,
because a suspension is temporary.
Well, I'm referring to Nevada State Athletic Commission's announcement that they're temporarily suspending Canelo Alvarez until April 10th when they have their review. And it's kind of a weird statement from them because...
Well, I see. Okay. I thought you were going there.
Well, like you just said, you don't get suspended until after a fight, or if you're suspended, you're suspended. I mean, you know, the word temporary shouldn't have been used in there. You know, so it gives me, it paints a picture for me personally to think it's temporary till we have our meeting on April 10th. Then we're going to okay it. What's your thoughts on them doing that?
Well, hey, we're on the same page. You know, you're either suspended, okay. A suspension is a temporary punishment. A revocation is more of a definite type of punishment, and I don't need to explain the difference to you. But once again, you know, just you know, between now and April 10th, temporary suspension. He's not going to fight between now and April 10th anyway. So to me, that means nothing. Okay. So when the hearing is April 10th, he's not, the fight that is in question is the May 5th fight. So there's not going to be, I don't understand it. I don't understand, really. I really don't understand when you put someone on a temporary suspension. It's something that, you know, would never come to my mind. You're either suspended or you're not. Now, to me, when I see that, when I saw that, it's telling me, or it's getting me ready for what I believe is going to happen. And like I've been saying, and I've seen some comments, you know, along the way about, you know, he should be suspended for 2 years or whatever. You know, he should be suspended. And I agree 100% that boxing does need a message. These fighters do need a message, and I do believe that he should be suspended for a considerable amount of time, 2 years, 2.5 years, and we know it can very adversely affect his career. However, you know, the message has to go. But I've been saying all along, and it's going to happen, I believe, that money dictates in the sport of boxing, and that nothing, in my opinion, and I hope that I'm wrong, but nothing is going to interfere with that May 5th date. You know, a lot of conversation is going to be had about what should be done. You know, why did they do this? Why did they do that? But come Cinco de Mayo, you're going to see you're going to see that fight, okay, in Las Vegas. And I've been saying it from day one, and I also said that I hope I'm wrong, and I would be pleasantly surprised, but that fight's going on. That's all I have to say about that.
I agree with you, and you know, I mean, I wish it wouldn't, because I feel it would make a big statement for the sport, Larry. But yes. I'm with you. I'm sure it's going to go on, and you know, once again, you know, I don't think it's right. You know what I mean?
I agree, and I would like nothing better to be in a position to make that statement. But it is what it is. And I understand the pressures. I'm not being critical now. I don't want you know, anyone to get the wrong impression. I'm just being realistic. I'm being realistic. Sooner or later, we have to put our feet down in the sport and make a statement that we're serious about this stuff. And as long as fighters could come in with excuses, it was in the meat, it was this, I didn't know, you know, I went to a party and I ate some chocolate or some other bullshit that I used to hear years ago about marijuana and all of that. As long as we continue to listen to this crap and slap them on the wrist and let everything just keep going, nothing's going to change. And we need, this is a golden opportunity to make a dramatic statement in the sport of boxing. It could be historic.
I tell you,
but
you know,
I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, if it would happen, it opens up every fighter's eyes. You know, it's the same thing. I used an analogy. You know, two guys, go and commit a crime together, right? They both do it. One guy's got money. The other guy doesn't. One guy hires a high-priced, tagged attorney. The other guy gets a public defender. The guy that's got the public defender is going to do 7 to 10 years. The other guy is going to get out on probation or on whatever. You know, I mean, it's about the money. And I think that in this particular case, a huge statement, and it's not like somebody's setting up Canelo. Canelo did it himself, you know, and it would make a statement. The respect factor would go through the roof. Fighters would say, oh, my God. You know, they did it to Canelo. You know, I'm going to watch my P's and Q's. That's what we need. I know that there's a lot of money to be made, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but it still doesn't make itself right. You know, I mean, don't cry that you want a clean sport, and then when you have the opportunity to do something about it, you don't. You can't complain. It's hypocritical. It's hypocritical.
And rules are laws, and they're for everybody. Okay, everybody, and that's the message that has to go out. That the rules are for everybody.
One last question for you, Larry. It was announced yesterday. Eddie Hearn announced it that Deontay Wilder is deciding not, and this is according to Eddie Hearn. I haven't seen anything, an official statement from Wilder, but that he's decided not to go as part of the Sky Sports television broadcast this weekend for the Anthony Joshua versus Joseph Parker fight. He's decided that he wasn't going to go. Eddie Hearn's point is that it's a stupid mistake. I mean, here he is getting paid to do it, number one. But number two, the bigger picture is that he's being handed all this publicity, something that I don't feel he gets in the U.S. because he's signed on with a team that's just not working for him. His team is just picking him dry, money-wise. I just think that they've advised him incorrectly. They've made a lot of mistakes with Deontay, and I think they've made another one by advising him not to go. If it is true, if he doesn't show up, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, hey, look, this is all. He's been complaining about money. You remember, one of the biggest sticking points in the beginning was the money, the split. Okay, it's my understanding that he looked to make a nice piece of change to just go over there. I'm sure they were going to give him a couple of million or at least 6 figures to come over. He was supposed to, I believe, wasn't he supposed to be a part of the commentating team? And you had this whole conversation about Joshua didn't want to be confronted by him in the ring and all of that. Hey, listen, that's all a part of the game, man. And shame on you, Joshua, if you had conditions on Wilder. Don't contribute to the excuses. So I think that that's ill. That's ill. He's ill advised not to go. It's a hell of a lot of publicity. Plus, he can make a lot of money. Or, he can make him a nice piece of change just to go over there and hang out and talk shit, and talk about what he's going to do. Everybody wants to see the fight. I don't know how much more publicity they really need, but it's all about, making some more money, and especially when he felt like he deserved more. So here's a chance for you to make more, and you're turning it down. So I don't know what goes through these guys' heads sometime, Billy. But I agree with you there. I think if he's being advised not to go, I think that's not good advice.
The funny thing is that and it's a reflection of the team that's around Deontay. He's got this WWE mentality, jumping on the ropes, bomb squad, pounding his chest, I'm the best, everybody's scared of me, all of this stuff. That is so wrestling-esque. And for him not to go, forget the money, forget all that, for him not to go because the rules, it had nothing to do with Anthony Joshua, the rules over there is you're not allowed to jump up into the ring unless you're invited, by someone in the ring. And, he wasn't sure that AJ was going to invite him up in the ring. But the truth of the matter is you don't need to do that. Just the presence of him there would have helped him long term. Whether he fought AJ next or not, it would have helped him long term. I think it's a poor business decision, and I wish he, made a different one. But Larry, enjoy the fight this weekend and the holiday itself too, and we'll be looking forward to you next week. I do have an email here that was directed to you, but it's going to have to wait till next week. So we'll get that. It's another one that my mailbox gets filled with letters for the great Larry Hazzard. So we'll have to wait till next week. But we need you.
I don't know about how great it is.
We need you. We need you to watch the fight, and I'm dying to hear your opinions next week, my man.
Okay, Billy.
Have a great one.
Then.
All right. Take care. That's Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazzard with his thoughts, and no one does it better than Larry. Hey, I'm going to take a short break. When we come back, the Blast from the Past. Michael, second to none. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in about 2 minutes.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free. Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young.
And he's got martinis.
So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C.
Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C Show. Glad you could be with us. Well, it's that time again. Our show is in its 15th year, and one of the longest running segments we have on this show is our Blast from the Past. This week's Blast from the Past is being brought to us in part by KOFantasyBoxing.com. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Sign up today. And it's also being brought to us in part by the Title Bout Championship computer game. Download yourself a copy of it right now. It's the best simulation game on the market. You could download a copy by visiting our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com. This week, our Blast from the Past, another request from one of you guys out there, is Michael Second to Nunn, a former two-division world champion. And joining me right now to tell us all about Michael Nunn is my man, Alex Perpali. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Billy C. How are you?
Oh, not too bad, my man, not too bad. I was a little surprised. For some reason, I thought that Michael Nunn was in the Hall of Fame. I was shocked to see that he's not.
Yeah, this is an interesting little corner of middleweight history here because we have, not just middleweight, but I guess middleweight, junior middleweight, welterweight, because we have a few guys here that are not in the Hall of Fame, and they're all kind of connected. Well, they're partially connected. We got Michael Nunn, who has a win over both Marlon Starling and Donald Curry. And all three of those guys, none of them are in the Hall of Fame. Another one, he is Sambu Kalambai, who was a middleweight champion for a little while too at this time. It's the sort of the post Leonard Hagler blues.
Hey, Alex, I don't mean to jump off topic here for a second, but we have this new thing. It's I try to communicate in all these different chat rooms, and one of them on the YouTube page is Super Chat, and Super Chat gives the viewers an opportunity to say what they want. I say it on the air for them, and they throw us some do-re-mi. And I just want to give a shout-out. I missed it because I was switching back and forth, and it was done a while ago. But NBT Boxing, I want to thank them. They just gave us a Super Chat, slightly under $15, which is a record right now, $14.99 to be exact. And I'm going to relay what NBT Boxing says. They said that Parker's going to end all this Wilder talk in 3.5 days. Big statement talking about Joseph Parker beating Anthony Joshua this weekend. I just want to thank NBT Boxing. I'm sorry about that, Alex. I just didn't want it to go unnoticed. Yesterday at the end of the show, my man, Scholar of Boxing, threw us something, and I didn't get to give him kudos till today. But anyway, Michael Nunn, great amateur career, 168 wins, 8 losses. Tell us more. Tell us more, Alex.
No problem, Billy C. Yeah, you got to pay the bills, and hey, I am very excited for this fight as well, and I was wondering that same thing while you guys were talking all about whether or not Deontay Wilder shows up. I was like, well, I wonder what happens if Joseph Parker shows up.
He better show up. He said, you know what? I've read, and have seen the videos of both of these guys. They're very respectful of each other, and like I said it when we opened the show, I'm confident that we're going to see the best possible Joseph Parker. He's not going to come in, just for a payday or whatever. I think we're going to see the best. I think he's okay. He's satisfied with his training. He feels he put it all on the line. And we'll talk about that after. We got to talk about Michael Nunn now. Come on, man. Come on. Stop changing the subject, Alex.
Come on here either Thursday or Friday because I'm very excited about this heavyweight fight. And I did enjoy last weekend as much as Max and Jim were telling us not to enjoy it. But yeah, Michael Nunn, Michael Second to Nunn. He was actually born Michael John Nunn in Davenport, Iowa, April 14th, 1963. I've got his height as in 2 different places. The guy's tall for a middleweight. Cyber Boxing Zone lists him as 6'3". BoxRec lists him at 6'1". So he's over 6 feet tall for a 160-pounder. That's pretty impressive. This was a guy who, when I got interested in boxing, I kind of didn't care for stylists, and he was a stylist, so I often rooted against him, especially against, when he fought guys like James Toney, Iran Barkley, more of those kind of fighters that I enjoyed. But the thing about Michael Nunn was he was incredibly talented, and he could box, he could slug as well as box. He started boxing around 12 years old. Had gotten in, it was boxing was a channel a way to channel his energy that had been sort of involved in some negative stuff like street fights and shoplifting. He had quick success, like you said, 168-8 record as an amateur, 3-time Iowa Golden Glove winner, and for a while he called himself the best 2-round fighter in the world because he tended to tire in that 3rd round of the amateur fights. And actually, perhaps that's what it was a solid 3rd round that from Virgil Hill that kept Michael Nunn out of the 84 Olympics, because Virgil Hill beat him in the Olympic trials. And I think that's an interesting little trivia question there for your listeners, Billy C., is what 2 boxing champions named Michael were defeated in the 1984 Olympic trials, and both guys went on to prison at some point. And of course, the other one was Mike Tyson, who was defeated by Henry Tillman. But yeah, he came out of maybe you don't think of Iowa as being a place where there's some tough streets. Excuse me, but the east side of Davenport, I guess, is a pretty nasty area. East 6th Street specifically, I guess, is an awful neighborhood. They used to call him, and this he said in an interview on the Arsenio Hall show, that they used to call him Wonder Mike, because people always used to wonder, what would he get into next?
He was a talented fighter, exciting fighter. When you look at his record, he has some big wins against guys that were huge at the time, Frank Tate and Callumby and Barkley, and even my main man, Marlon Starling, Donald Curry, fought and beat Victor Cordoba a couple of times. But one of the things that he could never get done was a big fight against some of the big names like Leonard or Hagler or Hearns or Duran, and he was available for those guys. And according to different opinions and comments from people around Michael Nunn, including Michael Nunn, Bob Arum tried several times to get him in the ring with one of those big paydays, because we all know Bob Arum wants to make his cut too, and they avoided him. And you know what? That was an avoidable guy, Michael Nunn. He was good. He had it all, really, Alex. He had flash. He had speed. He was a good-looking guy. He could take you out, with his right hand and his left hand. He was a body puncher. His defense, he was hard to hit. He was flashy. It's a shame. He was one of the best. He's a Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
He could end up in there at some point. Yeah, it was Gil Clancy, I guess, who was someone who had said to the Goosins that once you work on this guy's power, he's going to be he's going to go places, because if not, he's going to be really hard to watch. Because he did have that tendency to be just very, very elusive, and without power, that can be kind of boring. The fight with Starling is kind of hard to watch, because you have 2 guys that are both stylists and both defensive-minded, and that does not necessarily make for a fun fight to watch. But you're right, sometimes he would fight against type. When he fought Sambu Callumby, I mean, he takes him out with one shot. It was stunning. And that's the thing, is that the Goosins, I guess they did. It worked, their work with his power. He was their first big, marquee champion. But you're right, that was one of the things that was just unfortunate. They couldn't put together a fight with Leonard. And Leonard was the one. Leonard had even said that Michael second to none is the best middleweight in the world right now. Leonard was in the process of putting together the third and final fight with Roberto Duran, which was also hard to watch. But think about it. He was in no condition at that point. Sure, he could easily outpoint Duran, but he would have had major problems with Michael Nunn, if not just plain lost to Michael Nunn. Because, I mean, he was, he had speedy reflexes. He was the top middleweight. When I ran Barkley, that was one of the things that's interesting. Speaking of all this back and forth with Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, that is fun. I do hope that he makes it to England because I enjoy that kind of stuff. And you even had that in the build-up to Michael Nunn for Iran Barkley, because at that Arsenio Hall show interview I'm talking about, which people could find on YouTube, in row 2, seat number 1 is Iran Barkley. So he was sort of like, shadowing him, trying to build up that fight. And that was right at the time of Leonard Duran. So those guys were more interested in making as much as they could with each other. They weren't interested in challenging themselves against a Michael Nunn because that was a very risky fight. Even Roy Jones, they couldn't put together the fight. And the numbers I have here, Roy Jones at one point was going to fight Michael Nunn. They wanted the fight to happen, but you'll see why Nunn didn't. I guess Roy was supposed to get $3 million, and Michael Nunn was going to get $125,000.
I know. Well,
I'm not sure I'd want to fight Roy Jones for that either.
No. Well, when you look at Michael Nunn, and one of the guys in one of the chats said his best description of Michael Nunn wasn't second to none. It was one word: smooth. And I agree with that. Michael Nunn, when you really look at his career, the 4 years between 1986 and 1990, I mean, it was the best. I mean, when you look at the fights that he fought and won. I mean, Alex Ramos in 1986, and then a bunch of contenders. 88, Frank Tate, and then Juan Domingo Roldan and Callumbe and Barkley and Starling, which was a close, controversial fight. Donald Curry, who was, a top fighter at the time. The James Toney fight in 1991 was a really good fight. Michael Nunn was putting on a show, and he got caught, and then James Toney never wanted to give him a rematch. I mean, Michael Nunn was a dangerous fighter, and not only did he win a world title. I just want to get a chance to talk about, unfortunately for Michael Nunn, I want to get a chance to talk about the Wilder and AJ not showing up fight after we do this blast. But Michael Nunn was a former middleweight and super middleweight champion. And a lot of people forget, and I did kind of, because it was kind of in the back of my mind, but he also challenged for the world light heavyweight title. And that was in 1998. And his career wasn't over because he never lost again after that fight. His last fight at 39 years old against a journeyman fighter in 2002 would be his last professional fight. And then I guess he turned to distributing cocaine or something as a business because, he ended up getting popped big time. And they really slammed him with the sentence, too.
Oh, they threw the book at him, and I'm not sure if it was one of those mandatory minimums. I think it might have been because it was cocaine, but we'll get to that in a second. But I did want to say you're absolutely right in terms of like the fight. If he had the right dance partner, and that's the thing about guys who are like mostly stylists, is sometimes you see tremendous fights out of them if they're in there with the right dance partner. And I think that was the case with Barkley and James Toney. Those were really appealing fights. One of the things that was interesting here, and this is something that, you could make this argument for some fighters. Mike Tyson is one. I already made the connection with him with their amateur career, but before the James Toney fight, Michael Nunn split with the Goosens, and perhaps was a bit there's some of these articles, it suggests that even though he did start winning again, he was never really the same after splitting with the Goosens. And part of what happened was this you can't go home again old adage we hear. When home was a place where you used to get in trouble, and maybe you hung with the wrong crowd, and you spent too much time out at night and not enough time in the gym at your craft. Perhaps that's what happened, because when he went back to Iowa to start training, he got rid of the Goosens. He even brought in Angelo Dundee for that James Toney fight. But as we know, sometimes that was just window dressing, because, a top trainer like that might have only come in like the last week, 2 weeks, 10 days before the fight, and, just tightens everything up, and then he's there for, to be the motivator. But he's not the guy who 6 weeks ago was he checking to see if you did your road work. So I think that all that time spent back in with maybe some of the old, neighborhood crowd, they weren't necessarily good news for Michael Nunn. He had been in a lot of trouble with the law. Between 1983 and 2002, he was arrested 28 times. Well, 25 of those arrests came after 1991's fight with James Toney. So I think, there's a connection there in sort of, Plato talked about that, the idea that some of the best warriors also have this part in their soul that's full of appetite. And as long as you channel that appetite into preparing for war, they're going to be a great soldier. But once that gets out of check, they can end up destroying themselves. And, that this is sort of a case like that, and that idea that, maybe you can't go home again.
Well, Kelly Pavlik could certainly agree to that. Same issue. Kelly Pavlik, when he was out, as a middleweight world champion, and many regarded him as the best middleweight world champion at that time. When he lost his title, went back home to Ohio, had been in some crazy trouble, similar to what you're suggesting with Michael Nunn. He apparently was arrested right around the time of his last fight in 2002. After all of the court and everything else, he ended up getting sentenced to 24 years in jail in 2004. This is a guy that's a little younger than me, but I feel terrible about the guy in prison. He's a model citizen, and is looking to do his time and get out. I've always wondered, why, not that anybody should deal drugs, but why a guy that gets caught selling drugs to an undercover cop sits in a can for 20 some odd years, and a guy that murders somebody could be out in 7 to 10. It boggles my mind. But
I absolutely agree with you, and I think that it's a nonviolent crime. So I think that's just right there. It did not merit this kind of sentence. However, that's one of the things that if you do study criminology and stuff like that, you definitely will see there's massive discrepancies in cocaine sentencing as opposed to certain other drugs, as well as the other thing that's, I guess crack cocaine is different. But the other thing about this is they certainly took into account all his previous arrests. One of the things that I thought was totally outrageous was they said that of all those arrests, and for the amount of cocaine, it was 1 kilo of cocaine, there was a likelihood he had used a firearm at one time. Since when do you get convicted for likelihoods? But you're right, they threw him into the clink for 24 years. He was supposed to get out sometime in 2028. It looks like he will now get out with good behavior. He's been a model inmate. He looks like he'll get out December 19th, 2019.
Still,
so yeah, very long time.
Well, he's still got a year, but hey, listen, I'm not trying to shorten Michael Nunn, but we only have a few minutes left. So, how did he do in the title bout championship? I'm assuming he did well.
He did very well. He spanked the crap out of today's middleweights. He had a little tougher time with Triple G, but in their first encounter against Golovkin, he beat him by unanimous decision, 2 scores of 116 to 112, 1 score of 117 to 114, all for Michael Nunn, unanimous decision. When they fight 100 times, Michael Nunn gets the best of Golovkin, 55 wins, 36 defeats, 9 draws. Nunn scored 27 KOs. When he fought Clembuterol Alvarez, the first time they fought, Michael Nunn defeated him by 12-round unanimous decision. The scores were 117-111, 117-112, and 118-110. When they fight 100 times, Nunn dominates Cinnamon, 81 victories, 14 defeats, 5 draws, and he stopped Canelo 10 times.
Well, cheaters get what they deserve sometimes, right? But,
yep, that's right.
Michael's second to none. I believe he should be a Hall of Famer in my opinion, but he was a former middleweight and super middleweight world champion. He also challenged for the light heavyweight title. He had a career record 58 wins, 38 coming by knockout. He lost 4 times in which he was only stopped once, and he fought 415 rounds with a 61% knockout ratio. Michael Nunn, our blast from the past today, and an excellent job as usual on that, Alex. And let's move, since we only got a minute or two, let's move to Deontay Wilder. Was asked and was being promoted as being part of the broadcast team for the upcoming fight between Anthony Joshua and Joseph Parker, a heavyweight unification fight in the UK. And it was revealed yesterday, and my man Thomas Newman just gave me some clarification that not only did Eddie Hearn say that Deontay has changed his mind, but also Adam Smith, who's head of boxing at Sky Sports, has also said that he has changed his mind and will not be ringside for this fight. This bothers me. I agree with Eddie Hearn that, if anything, this was an opportunity to get some free publicity and get paid for it. What's your thoughts?
I agree completely. I think it's sort of shortchanging boxing. Even though, I don't know, what's the big inconvenience? The 6-hour plane ride? I mean, it makes sense for him to be there. The only thing I could see is that there were some, in one of the pieces I read, there was some suggestion that Eddie Hearn might actually be trying to posture Wilder for a fight with Dillian Whyte first. So maybe Wilder and the Heyman Brain Trust behind him was like, well, you're not going to go over there to be, promoting a second fiddle type fight. Like, we're not going to have you go over there and not be calling out Joshua, and they're going to be sort of funneling you towards Dillian Whyte. So that's the only thing I could think of. But you're right. It makes complete sense for him to be there. That's the fun of it. Hey, everybody loved when Clubber Lang would go to the fights that Rocky had. Come on, that's great.
Listen. Whether Eddie Hearn is posturing for a Dillian Whyte fight or not, the bottom line is this. And first of all, I got to give a shout out to the Scholar of Boxing, another super chat participant. I love these guys. They're throwing their money where their mouth is, and that's all you can do. And I appreciate it. One of the knowledgeable guys. His handle isn't just a proof of that. He actually makes comments that he can back up with statistics, which I love. I hear all these things about fanboy type fans, and they shoot off their mouths, and then they can't back it up with nothing. And Scholar is not like that. But anyway, as far as that posturing for a potential showdown with Dillian Whyte, he's got that built in, Alex, because the WBC has they made him as mandatory. So if I'm Deontay Wilder, I take the paycheck and go get the free trip over there. I sit ringside. I still, try to hold out for a little more money to fight AJ. And in the meantime, I'll beat the snot out of Dillian Whyte because he's going to be able to beat Dillian Whyte. So, listen, my opinion with Deontay Wilder, forget my thoughts on his abilities because I've made them very public. But from a promotional standpoint, he has been mishandled. He was never given the right promotional oomph from his promoters and management. And if you look at it from just purely decision-making for the best fights, for the most money, the least amount of fights, etc., a 2-fight deal with Anthony Joshua right now, Alex, could set this guy up and his great-great-grandchildren money-wise. He doesn't have to fight bums for $1 million or $2 million. That's not going to set him up for life. I mean, it would set me up for life, but he's being advised incorrectly. That's the bottom line. I'm telling you, this guy has surrounded himself with crooks who are dressed in savior uniforms.
Well, I don't disagree, and I think one of the biggest mistakes, I think, of promotion in the last, in recent history, maybe in a long time, was Mayweather-Pacquiao. And one of the biggest mistakes about it was the way they made people wait for it. It didn't help anything. It didn't help the sport, and it certainly didn't. Maybe it helped the paychecks, but it didn't help the sport, and it didn't help the enjoyment of the bout, because by the time it finally happened, the shine was off both guys, and the fight itself was less than appealing. Sure, it was an event for the Paris Hiltons and the Justin Timberlakes of the world, but come on, we have the chance here to have really, really exciting USA versus UK clash. Come on, let's not ruin it by baking it, marinating it too long.
Well, that's the key. There's no need to marinate it. It's there. There'll be another big fight after.
With juices. It's so moist.
Yeah. Hey, listen, appreciate not only the job on the blast, but also your thoughts on this. Enjoy the fights this week. Enjoy your holiday, and we'll be looking forward to you next week, brother.
All right, Billy C., take care.
That's Alex Perpali, and doing a great job. Listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Sal Rocky Sanacola will be back with us. Don't go nowhere.
Billy C. will be right back. Part of the Billy C. Boxing Network.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
Similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end...
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And back again with us is my man Sal Rocky Senecola. And Sal, I see Sal is not ready. So what we're going to do here is I had a couple of emails, boys and girls, that I wanted to read, but we're not going to get to them today. We'll read them tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow will be our breakdown and prediction day for the Anthony Joshua and Joseph Parker fight that's going to be taking place this weekend. So you're not going to want to miss that. Both myself and Sal, who's back now, will be giving our breakdowns and predictions on the big fight. But first, I wanted to get everybody caught up, Sal, with the latest installment of Anthony Joshua's fight diary that my man Johnston gave us, and this will be right here. He says, every fighter is different in their character, and with Joseph Parker, there's echoes of Vladimir Klitschko. Yesterday, I was back at this guy's studio for a press conference. The last time I was there, I was doing it for the Klitschko fight. And like Vladimir, I respect Parker, how he remained professional and conducted himself so well. None of the trash talk. I like to think the message that my trainer relayed put everything in perspective, and that's why I'm so confident going into this fight. He can seem like the quiet man in my corner, but he's so influential. He teaches me to be mentally strong and not just rely on my physical attributes alone. It's common to refrain for a fighter at the press conference to say that they're in great shape and that they've been in their best camp as a fighter, etc., etc. Then they come fight night and they actually fail to deliver. In contrast, Rob trains me to produce. The belief he shows in my ability is the reason that I train 110% for each fight, as he knows the standard I can reach and ensures I hit it with every session. From our perspective, the talking is done, and it's time to focus purely on the fight. My base is now in Cardiff, where I'll be for the rest of the fight week for my final preparation. The city has become a bit of a home for me now. Parker and his team will also have to make their way across tonight, and we'll get to see what he looks like at the open workout. For me, the hard work has been done in camp, so I prefer to use the open workout to entertain and interact with the people who take the effort to come and see me. The support I've received over the last few months and years don't go unnoticed, so these opportunities are good for me to meet those who turn out. It's my third stadium fight in a row. I started out in small venues and halls in my amateur days, and now fighting at the O2 Arena and venues like that. My fight against Takam at the Principality Stadium last time was the largest indoor crowd in boxing history, so we continue to break records. I have shown that I can rise to the occasion. Sounds like a Sal line, but this is Parker's first experience of the atmosphere. He said that he's not going to let the occasion beat him, but what you think you're going to feel and what you actually experience are two different things. It's showtime and everyone's watching. He will see that the whole buildup is bigger than anything he's used to in terms of the open workout and the weigh-ins, etc. This is where the fight starts to go. When there are so many people cheering and the place is rocking, will he decide to shut out the noise and waste energy, or ride the wave and become overexcited? If he's cool, calm, and collected, then he'll be able to ride the wave and surf it till the 12th round. But it depends on his character. Is he a Vladimir Klitschko or not? It's daunting. It's overwhelming. It's an experience he hasn't faced yet. If he manages to control himself like a true champion, this fight will be a war. What's your thoughts, Mr. Senecola?
As I've often said about Anthony Joshua, he's a gentleman, he's eloquent, he definitely can relate and relay what he wants to say, and in a real good professional manner. There's not too many holes in that armor and what he has to say, and I'm enjoyed listening to those excerpts, and I want to thank Jonathan again for relaying them to us. And it's a champions talk. It's a confident talk. It's very good to hear, and I'm glad that he can share it with us. And I'll tell you what, it's going to be a good fight. I think he hit some points right on the head, and I think that I'm anticipating a good fight, and I can't wait to see it Saturday night.
One thing I want to mention, Johnston sent us these pages from Anthony Joshua's fight diary. So remember I was saying how I love the British terms and stuff like that? Well, He started this email. He says, "Hey, Billy and Sal, I hope me old China plates are having a puka morning. I hope me old China plates are having a puka morning." What that means, he gave me definition. Me old China plates means mates, and having a puka morning means having a good morning. I wish these English guys would speak. I wish these English guys would speak English, Sal. You know what I mean? I wish they would speak English over here. What do you think?
Well, it's not only English, but it's the Queen's English that they speak, and I think it's rather suiting. And I would hope to one day have a spot of tea with Johnson and discuss the game of boxing.
He also wanted to clear up, first of all, the super chat. I really appreciate everybody that's involving themselves with the super chat. When it was first given to me as an idea, it was to try to generate some revenue to get Sal and me over to England to do a show. But the amount of money it would cost us to do a show over there for a week is pretty expensive, and I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure we could do it in Super Chat, but we're having a lot of fun with it, and I appreciate it. He wanted me to clear up about his Super Chat comment when he put 10 pounds if Parker wins. He says, "I do think AJ is going to win this fight, but Parker's a good young fighter that also has a good chance of winning. I'm saying that the fight is 60-40 in Anthony Joshua's favor." More of our listeners should use the super chat to put their money where their mouth is and turn the show, and in turn, the show will pick up a few quid. And in parentheses, he put pounds. Quid, pounds, I guess that means money, Sal.
Well, that's the common denomination, and I do believe so. And yes, the quid, pounds, whatever it may be, we call it cash coins and moolah.
Just to get you caught up, Sal,
Yes,
it
sir.
was confirmed by my man Thomas Newman that Sky Sports, Mr. Smith, who's Adam Smith, who's the head of boxing at Sky Sports, has indicated that they were informed that your hero is not going to be in attendance. So Deontay Wilder choosing not to be ringside for the fight, and I think that is a huge mistake for Deontay Wilder for really one reason. And one reason only. And one of the comments was they were telling him he wasn't allowed to jump up into the ring. I'm saying to myself, why does this guy want to create this circus atmosphere around himself? He needs to. He used that circus mentality because he had to. He didn't have any promotional team that were working the way they should. But he's beyond that now. It's time to start going for the real support of real boxing fans and not just the Yahoo fanboys that are into him yelling and screaming and spitting and drooling all over the place. I think he's making a huge mistake by not taking advantage of this opportunity, Sal.
Well, I do as well, Bill. And like I said, I don't understand the reasoning behind it. And until I hear it right from his mouth, I'm going to hope that it's just part of the press and part of what they want to do to stir the interest and the do's, don'ts, and what ifs that we're discussing right now about it. But I'm hoping that he's going to be ringside. And you know how I feel about Deontay Wilder. I think he's got that equalizer. And as much as I respect, and I do love Anthony Joshua, and I think he's great for the game, I'm telling you, something tells me that that's one fight that Anthony Joshua's not going to like to have. I'm telling you, that right hand.
Well, you need more than a right hand, and Anthony Joshua has a pretty powerful right hand himself.
Oh, he does.
And so did Vladimir Klitschko. They didn't call his right hand the hammer for nothing. So I mean, come on, you need more than that. So far, Deontay has not needed more. He will need more to fight Anthony Joshua, I think. Maybe not. Maybe not. Hey, you know what? When you have freakish power like that, that's all you need sometimes. But he's never fought anybody like that. But the bottom line is they got to get in the ring and fight. That's the bottom line. So
that's the bottom line.
Yep.
And that's I heard Larry Hazzard, and I share his sentiments 100%. And because that's the only heavyweight fight I really want to see. That's the only heavyweight championship fight I really care to see. And especially after this weekend, hey, what a disruption in the cards it'll be, a disruption if Joseph Parker should win this fight against Anthony Joshua. But, I do want to see that fight, and I do want to see Deontay Wilder, as I said, Anthony Joshua, and I think his unorthodox style is going to give Anthony Joshua some real trouble that he does not anticipate. But that's all I'm going to say.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, my man Scholar, I'm gonna give him he's predicting that AJ is gonna quit on his stool. I'm wondering if he's against Joseph Parker. Against Joseph Parker. I'm wondering if he really means that, or if he's just saying that. That would be imagine. I mean that would be. I can't even imagine. I'm lost for words. If and don't get me wrong, I am not saying that Joseph Parker is not a real opponent, because he is. That's my whole point here. But to me, Anthony Joshua is the best heavyweight right now in the sport. So in order to keep proving that, he's got to beat Joseph Parker. But big, bold prediction from my man Scholar in the chat room. But anyway, hey, don't forget, boys and girls, we are going to do our breakdowns and final predictions of how the big fight this weekend will go on tomorrow's show. We're not doing a live show on Friday due to the holiday weekend, but we are back on Monday. I know some people celebrate the holiday on Monday. Easter Monday. I've never, maybe Canada, because don't they do like a boxing day that has nothing to do with boxing? I don't know. But in any event, I celebrated on Sunday, and we will not be doing a post-fight show. We were going to try to coordinate that, but the fight is on a little early on Saturday, and it might be tough. But I am working on some changes with possible changes with the show, and it'll boil down to a lot of post-fights, so just hang in there. But in any event, tomorrow, make sure you tune in, because we'll have the breakdowns and predictions. But, boys and girls, on this day in boxing history, March 28th, in 1984, Murray Sutherland wins a 15-round decision over Ernie Singletary to win the newly formed IBF World Super Middleweight title. It took place in Atlantic City, New Jersey on this day. If you guys notice, Atlantic City was a hotbed for boxing in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
Actually, that's where Sal, you fought a lot there too. But it's a shame that at Atlantic City is not as popular now, and I know Larry Hazzard is working very hard to try and bring it back. So keep that in mind. It was a hotbed. But anyway, on this day in 1981, Santos Laciar knocks out Peter Mathabula in the 7th round to win the WBA World Flyweight title, took place in South Africa. On this day in 1998, Lennox Lewis stopped Shannon Briggs in the 5th round to retain his WBC World Heavyweight title. It took place in Atlantic City, New Jersey. 1998, that just goes to show you how old Shannon Briggs is. On this day in 1981, the great Sugar Ray Leonard stops Larry Bonds, not James's brother, but just Larry Bonds, in the 10th round to retain his WBC World Welterweight title. at the Carrier Dome in Syracuse, New York. You know, I never remember a fight being there, at least a Sugar Ray Leonard fight being there. That's pretty cool. And finally, on this day, which is not boxing history, but on this day, March 28th, in my history of being a football fan, in 1963, the American Football League, back then called the AFL, officials announced that the bankrupt New York franchise, previously known, because it started in 1959, as the New York Titans, had been sold to a group of 5 men headed by Sonny Werblin, who was a television guy, and the team will now be called the Jets. So they were actually born today in 1963. Hey, man, that concludes our show for today. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.